In this video we're talking to you about the deadlift and why so many people actually get injured doing it because they're not doing it correctly and they don't know the sequence of how to do it correctly. So let's run through a few quick points. So first few checks. First things first, as we talked about it last week, is make sure that you can touch your toes. A quick test on this is the sit and reach test. Best thing to use is an actual box. So we're going to do a quick sit and reach test. So all you're doing here is your feet flat on the floor against the box and you're trying to reach as far as you can. You're trying to get as deep as you can into that box, but what you're mainly looking for is can you touch your toes without your knees lifting off the ground. That number one highlights that you have the mobility in your hamstrings and your posterior chain to get into a half decent position once your hips aren't all caught up. Now there's more detail in that, but that's the basic pass that you want. The second point is that once you have that, you want to be able to hinge appropriately at the hip. So the hip is your fulcrum and that's where your hamstrings and glutes take most of the load. We want to be able to do this correctly. So we get coccyx, mid back and head all in line, bow, and you want to be able to get roughly to 45 degrees so you can keep those 3-point positions and load those hamstrings up. That is key for when you're deadlifting and you really want to be able to do that so that you don't hurt yourself when you deadlift. Now there's a sequence to deadlifting and learning to deadlift correctly and getting strong. Before you do it, you want to learn how to do Romanian deadlifts, which essentially is the deadlift, but in reverse. So what that looks like is, starting from the top down, we're going to deadlift up. From the top down, we're going to take an alternating grip for a stronger grip, or if you really want to work hard, we're going to go with an overhand grip. Upper back tight, chest out, knees are slightly bent, and you're using your lat muscles, your upper back muscles, to pull it in. Then we're keeping our chest out and we're lowering down to the point of tension in our hamstrings, pausing, and then coming back up, squeezing the glutes. 3 seconds down, pause, the point of tension, maybe get below the knee, that's fine. You're feeling all hamstrings, you come back up, squeeze the glutes. You need to be able to master that for 3 to 5 sets of 8 and loading properly, using your lat muscles to pull back in and having that sliding and dragging feeling going down and up your legs. That's first things first. Once you master that and you're getting a little bit better at that, then what you can move on to is a raised deadlift. Raised deadlift essentially is just deadlift from a raised height. So from here, the balls of my feet, so the first eyelet on my shoe here, where that first bit of lace goes through, that's what's underneath the barbell. And I'm looking down. Then from here, my hands are on the hips, and your upper back is tight. I'm going to shift my ass back, feel the hamstrings, then bend my knees and take grip of the bar. From here, I'm taking a breath into my stomach, tightening my lats back, my shoulders are rolled back and tight in, bracing, taking the slack out of the bar, so we don't want to hear that. Take the slack, eyes forward, looking 10 meters out in front of me, lift up, squeeze the glutes, slowly back down, keeping the weight in the middle of our foot, and that's our RDL going back down. Then we move on to the floor. So the floor is where it can all go wrong. So once you're doing that in its perfect form and it looks good, if it looks crap, it is crap. That's what you have to remember. Very basic. If it looks poor, then you just regress it a little bit. So you deadlift from the floor. First things first is that when you approach the barbell, the idea is that we're trying to work our hamstrings the most, glutes, getting the muscle, getting the weight up, okay, correctly. First things first is address the barbell. Directly when I look under, I can see that the bar is blocking the first eyelet of my shoe. My hips are hip width apart. The reason I don't go shin in is because if I go shin in, then I'm scraping my shins and I just get in my way. Instead of being here nice and flat, my shins are in the way and I'm hitting the barbell and I have a rounded back. So that's why your foot position is so important. Then from here, up, lock your upper back in. Take a breath in before you go down. Tighten all your core, your ribs stay down. We don't want to end up here. Ribs stay down. Slide the hands down the legs, feel the hamstrings, then bend the knees to here. My hips are at a 30 to 45 degree angle. I'm not squatting down. My hips are here, so I'm loading like in that hinged position. Shoulders back, breath. Take a grip. I'm going to overhand grip, but alternating grip like so is a stronger grip. I stretch my hamstrings so that I remind myself the neural patterns in my brain to my muscles of what I'm trying to do, which is use those hamstrings. Weight is in the middle of the foot. My foot is really clawing the ground. Upper back is tight. Take the slack out of the bar. Look in front around 10 meters. Drive the middle of the foot through the ground, feel the hamstrings, finishing tall at the top, squeezing the glutes. Then on the way down, if you go knees first, you're gonna hurt your back. So we go ass back, down the hamstrings, bend the knees to the floor. And that's your deadlift. So a few key points again. We'll use this sheet so you can see it. A little bit better written today so you can see it. Deadlift, start with your Romanian deadlifts, master that. Try 3 sets of 8. Then you're moving on to a raised deadlift. So that's up maybe off a bit of a raised height, also sometimes known as rack pull when done correctly, and then we're going from the floor. When we're going from the floor, ball of the foot or the first eyelet of our shoe is underneath the bar. Hips are at 30 to 45 degrees, so we're not squatting it, so we're feeling our hamstrings. Your lats, your upper back are vitally important to upper back to squeeze in. If you're struggling with that, you can use a band, have it out in front of you and pull it back. Weight in the middle of the foot, not in our heels, not in our toes, and claw the ground with our foot. Chest position is always out and you're leading with your chest. You don't want your hips to shoot up. And then finally, when you get up to the top, lowering it back down, or the L to the knee, and then bend your knees to save your back so you don't put your back out. Use that, guys. That's how to deadlift perfectly. Even stick with Romanian deadlifts and you will get stronger.